Alright, so this is the 14th time we've been gathering here in Taking Social Politics events. And so today we have great presenters for you, great topics, and a little bit about ourselves. So who we are, it's a small group of enthusiasts who've been working in the field of DevOps for quite a while now. The team is Arthur's, I don't know if they raise hands or Arthur's, Marcis, Oldis, Estelle, Muratan, and Yelena. So we've been the small group of people who are putting all these things together. Thank you very much for appearing from time to time here at our lovely event. So, and what is the idea of all these events? It is basically just to raise awareness about DevOps, to raise the interest in all things we do, and maybe through this it will intrigue more and more people to apply DevOps practices. And it's not like we always do have only specific technical talks about like specific technologies. We have some more subtopics as well, and it's a variety of different things every time we do these kinds of events. Yeah, socializing, sharing. You gather many new friends, and you can talk about different topics in these kinds of events. And we have them on premises always here in the lovely Portland reading groups, and we have this as well online. This time we're streaming on YouTube and LinkedIn at the same time. Hope that works out. Well, we do stream it as well, so I hope it's all better working out. Yeah. And today we have the Christmas special edition DevOps talk for everyone. And today we have Andrea Molich here with us, who will be talking about the flavors of GitOps. And we do have as well with us Annika Dijlen, who will talk about motivation as a concept. And this is like a brief schedule of how today's going to go. So we're going to do introduction, this one, and there's going to be Andre with this topic. Then you can ask some questions. What do you have during this well, the questions you have after the presentation. Then we will play a little bit of a game, which is called DevOps Karaoke. It's very fun and interesting. And we have a break, then the second talk, QA, and then we will gather everyone together. Well, those of you who will want to stay for these DevOps topics where we talk about some interesting things that people are generally fond of. And yeah, and that's going to be the schedule for this event. So, how to present if you are interested yourself. It's pretty easy. You can just ping us, and we are super open-minded for all the kinds of talks. And you can find us on Slack, LinkedIn, Facebook, meetups, or just DevOps LD. So plenty of places to apply, or just check out the latest talks. We do have recordings of them, so you can check them out later as well if you want. And the organizers are from different companies, and we are from Evolution, Emergent, Ace Group, Accenture, and Wattel Bertelsmann. And for this event, we have the Emergent guys helping us with the food and drinks that are in the lobby, which you can enjoy during all of this meetup. And I would like to give a quick word to the Workland guys, who are they seem fairly busy. Would you like to say a couple of words? Yes, about Workland?
So we are the operational DevOps team here. So yeah, first of all, thanks that you are coming here like every second month. I mean, there's not much to say about us except that it's co-working where we can host such nice events, and basically it's possible not to do only in Riga, but maybe also at some point in Lithuania or Estonia, so that we create really this Stacky of the Baltics community spreading out. But let's see how this is working. Co-working space, come here if you want to co-work. Come here if you want to host some events, if you want to have private events, it's also possible, but it's not complementary. And on the other side, the next meetup, I'm pretty sure that we will have an amazing setup for the video streaming. We are still playing around, but it should look nice on YouTube. The YouTubers cannot comment.
We're still keeping an incentive to come here live, not sitting back at your phone and couch with the most fantastic stream ever. So keep coming.
I mean, that's a hackathon we are doing. Like, as you see, we are trying to use really the consumer kind of technology to make the stream happen, and it works somehow. So let's go ahead.
Thank you very much. Thanks, guys. All right. Oh, sorry. Should see that? No, that's for later. So now we can, for you as well. No, we can. Okay. Perfect. So we continue with our first speaker, Andre, the flavors of GitOps. Thank you very much. Please take these little people.
Okay, it works. Hello, folks. How are you doing?
Very good.
Good. Well, it's a bit preliminary because I didn't do anything yet. Okay, so yeah, let's talk about GitOps, obviously, and about my experience with GitOps and my opinion about GitOps. And yeah, maybe you'll have your own opinions. We can discuss them later. But yeah, that's my experience basically. But before we start, who am I? Well, obviously, I'm a DevOps guy, right? But I usually position myself as a developer because I still write code, and I probably will write code for forever until I die. But yeah, but here I'm talking because I am a DevOps guy, obviously. I'm also doing some other activities. You can see them on the screen, but that's not so important. Let's talk about this topic, right? By the way, my name is Andre. I guess you've seen the invitation. Right. So GitOps. The cool thing about GitOps actually is a pretty new term. It's even younger than DevOps, and it's younger than continuous delivery. It's younger than any other term that you might know, like Scrum, Agile, Lean, whatever. The first time it appeared was like in 2017. Was a company called Weaveworks, which actually, well, they do provide infrastructure as code tooling, infrastructure as a service, and they of course they had lots of clusters, lots of things that I have to support, and they of course wanted to do them in the best possible way with automation, with storing things in Git and stuff like that. And eventually they came up with this idea that operational code, infrastructure as code, has to be obviously in Git, and there is some flavors to that you can use to automate the delivery of these changes of this infrastructure. When we're talking about when we're talking about continuous delivery, quite often we talk about things like applications, testing, and deploying the application to the environment. But well, we are DevOps guys, we of course know that, but developers usually forget about the other layers of infrastructure that exist to support those continuous delivery pipelines and infrastructure that actually runs the applications. But that, and quite often, of course, it's not part of any flows, of any code that is part of application code. It's a different world. And Weaveworks actually was very deep into that world, that they needed to support the platform for themselves, for their customers, and they needed to actually use the same techniques and ideas that developers were using to deliver applications reliably with code. And the term was born at that time, GitOps. But to be honest, the ideas of GitOps, they of course were known before that. And if you think about that, GitOps basically is just continuous delivery, but for any kind of code, or specifically operational code or infrastructure as code. But the idea is still the same as continuous delivery. We're delivering code on new changes coming into the Git repository, and that's just automatically being populated, whatever it is. Firewall, database, cluster, whatever, doesn't matter. We apply the changes through a pipeline. Right. The term gained wider recognition in 2019, and then we also had like a first conference about GitOps 2020, and I think it was the last conference because in 2021 and 2022 it didn't happen because of the pandemics, of course, but maybe for some other reasons as well. I'm not sure there will be another one, but yeah, still there's a lot of activity happening around that term by different companies, specifically WeWorks, that are putting effort into making that more popular. Right. Also, who knows Kelsey? A few guys. Yeah, that's Google Developer Advocate for Kubernetes. And he's damn popular. Yes, like, I'm not sure millions, but quite many thousands of followers on Twitter and other social networks. He's definitely someone in the DevOps community. And he said that in 2019, that GitOps is probably the best thing since Configuration as Code. Because, as I mentioned already, Git and GitOps in general, the ideas behind that were not new. And maybe if the term was not invented, we still would get into the same state as we have now with all these toolings. But things that happened before, like Git and the whole ecosystem of tooling that exists around Git allows us to collaborate on anything, like on documentation as code, on infrastructure as code, on testing as code, on security as code. So of course it was obvious choice for being the central point where we store our anything as code. And of course we also had infrastructure as code already with all the declarative things that we have in Terraform, Ansible, Puppet, which allows us to describe things declaratively. And of course we had CI/CD pipelines already before that, but joining it all together and having a single pipeline that actually does not only the application delivery, but also the whole infrastructure delivery, that's what ended up being GitOps. And we have lots of tools already in the market and existed before, the term was existing, and many people were already doing something like GitOps before the term, before 2017, but now we actually have the term for that, and we can actually use that to describe what we do as DevOps engineers or anyone who's doing infrastructure automation, not only for applications, but also on any other lower level. Right, so, Alex has also defined the principles for GitOps. And I pretty much agree with them, except maybe for the last one. So let's quickly go through them. So of course, obviously, the idea is that the entire system that we're managing, whatever it is, database, firewall, cluster, cloud, on-prem, anything, is described inside the declarative code, obviously. And of course, we store in Git. That's no other way. Stored in version control, the central point. And any changes that were approved, like the ones that are getting in the main branch, they obviously will be automatically deployed to the target world, to the target infrastructure. So sounds familiar, right? Because it's obviously continuous delivery. And the fourth principle is that we also may have some extra agents, extra functionality that is running inside our infrastructure that is not only delivering the changes, but also controlling the latest desired state is still correct, and and we have some divergence from that state that we either get an alert or we kind of automatically converge back to the previous desired state. Right. In short, declarative, versioned, pulled and deployed automatically, and continuously reconciled. The four main principles of anything that we can go GitOps. Of course, the idea that we've obviously stored in Git. Potentially, we can store it in any other version control system, but nobody actually uses anything else than Git, right? Or is anyone using anything else than Git? Subversion. Okay. Well, you can call it subversion ops or something, but it's still possible, of course, to do it with that. Anyone using CVS? Okay. Right. Yeah, just again, the principles, declarative, because, and the reason we can actually do it declaratively is because we have lots of tools, right? We have lots of tools like Terraform, Ansible, Kubernetes, many others like Puppet, Chef, whatever you're using. You can actually even make Bash declarative if you want to. But we have lots of tools that are declarative by design, right? And it's easy to kind of inject them into GitOps pipeline, into a continuous delivery pipeline, and deliver anything that is part of that. And most of the tools are important. So basically, doesn't matter how many times we apply the same configuration, we eventually the tool will converge that configuration and the target world, target environment to the same state, right? So that's the idea of that. And we have gazillion options for that. And you all know that, of course, we have some declaration, we have some tooling that we're going to use for that, like the Terraform, Ansible, Kubernetes, whatnot. They do have like similar ideas, similar principles, right? Declaration, some magic, and then our target environment. And then the responsibility of the tool is take this declaration and apply it to the target environment, right? And there's different things that maybe not so important to mention because the idea is still the same, right? We have different commands, different ideas, but different types of worlds. But we have the code that has declaration, and we can run that code from our CI/CD pipeline, from GitOps pipeline, and apply it to the target world in any way. One thing to remember here is that there are kind of two types of tools, I would say. Something like Terraform or Ansible, for example, they are like deployment time tools because you have to invoke them in order to convert the state, right? You have to run the tool to actually make the tool to check what's the state of the world, which is obvious. And when we can invoke these tools whenever we like, whether it's in pipeline, whether we do it manually, doesn't matter. But there should be some invocation with either automatic or manual that will converge the world to the code. In some situations, like for example with Kubernetes and maybe some other examples of that, the code still defines the state, and we can put it into a database, and then some runtime mechanism is continuously checking whether the world is conforming to the desired state, and if it is, then everything is fine. But if it's not, the special mechanism, runtime mechanism, will actually take that into account and will try to converge it to the state that is known the latest. So two types of tools, and both types can actually be used in GitOps pipelines or DevOps delivery pipelines because that's the goal. Of course, depending on how complex is the situation in your company, in your organization, you may actually be very happy with these ones. But if you have very complex infrastructure, then most likely you will go into this direction because it's kind of offering more mechanisms to have this control and have observability and understanding how divergent is your actual environment is from the desired state. Right. This is kind of obvious for versioning things, and of course it's going to be Git and nothing else. And the principle 3 is that we're pulling things automatically. And of course, there are many tools that can do this automatically for us. We have many CI/CD tools, and you know that, like Jenkins, GitHub Actions, GitHub CI, Azure DevOps Pipelines, whatever. You have so many different ways to pull things and execute the tool. Either execute Terraform or Ansible from the pipeline, or maybe push things to Kubernetes and make that convert the state. So there's no reason to actually not use that. Right. And the final bit, the fourth, which I would say that it's optional because you can actually have GitOps with just the first three principles, right? Versioned, declarative, and automatically invoked on some event like a code commit. But this extra step, where you actually also have like things that will automatically try to detect the configuration drift from your desired state, especially if it's a complex state. That's not mandatory, but it's very convenient if you have it. Especially, well, I'll show you a demo later on with Argo CD to show you how that works. And there are many options. Many of them are actually Kubernetes based. To actually, we're using the dynamic nature of Kubernetes to actually reconcile the state and try to converge it to the desired state. But also there are some other instruments that you can use to achieve similar results, but without Kubernetes, especially if you're using something like cloud or some other type of infrastructure that is based on Terraform, for example. Right. Okay, so let's explore a bit. Imagine a company, right? A company has lots of different resources. Obviously, they have networks. Obviously, they have some data services, some platform for maybe it's a cluster, maybe something else where they deploy the applications. And these whole applications, these whole layers, probably managed by different teams. And that's what we are getting with that. Regardless of all the automation, regardless of all the things that we've done as DevOps people during last, I don't know, decade or so, silos are returning back because people like, creating boundaries and, organizing in small tribes and then living them. And basically, regardless of the level of automation, like let's say Team A and Team B has, they still may have a very inefficient way of communicating with each other. So let's say Team A needs some change in networking infrastructure. And then they need to create some, Jira ticket, for example, for Team B to actually do something. And you can see that like 1 day, 2 days, 5 days later, eventually they clarified what is the requirements, what are the requirements, and eventually Team B found the time to actually do the requirement, and then the actual change took them 5 minutes and 1 line of code. That's actually, it happened in the past, it's still happening, and it doesn't matter how much this team has automated their work and how this team has automated their work. If there's a boundary between them, which is, well, I don't know, Jira or something else, that's a huge waste of time and waste of energy. How you can turn that around is obviously with GitOps, because imagine if these guys would just go to the code that describes this infrastructure and made a pull request. And they would already, find out what do they need. They will already find out what was the response from the pipeline, from the automatic script. They will already get feedback, automatic feedback about how good is their change or not. And then these guys would only have to go and approve the change if they agree. Instead of going through this, extra layer of things that actually require 5, maybe 10 minutes of coding, they would actually do it faster. So basically, yeah, it's the idea of GitOps. Maybe you've heard it as well. We also call it operations by pull request. So instead of having a boundary between the teams, and having some extra management layer that doesn't allow us to directly make the change, we open up the code. We allow people to go and change the code, but not to deploy the code. So of course we do it for the pull request, and people are the owners of the repo can go and either approve the pull request or reject the pull request. But at the same time, when the pull request is submitted, we usually have some automation around that, which will validate the code, which will check the code against the policies that the company may have, and this will give feedback to the owner of the repo to actually either accept or reject. It's much faster, it's more asynchronous, and you kind of you're reversing the flow, because here you first of all have to find what to do, and then you have to make the team B to actually find the time to implement the thing. With operations by pull request, the team who needs the change actually implements the change, and these guys just become the approvers. They don't need to find the time to implement, they actually need to find the time to review, approve, and then the automation will do the rest, right? So basically it turns out to be something like that. Team A may own the networking repository with all the declarative infrastructure services described there. They own that, and they can approve pull requests, they can make direct changes. But then, of course, there could be another team that does the data services, and another team that does the application services. And the state for these different layers of the infrastructure is stored in the Git repository, right? And whoever needs the change may open a pull request, and these guys, for example, can review it and approve it, and then automation will take that code and deploy it to the target environment when it's part of the mainline, right? So, I mean, these teams doesn't need to be infrastructure teams, of course. It could be also developer teams that are doing things. And I've seen, quite many examples where I implemented something like that, when we turned the flow of work and like reduced the waiting time quite a lot. Because before GitOps, before introducing this kind of pull request kind of things, developers needed to request certain type of functionality or certain type of configuration change and wait until the operations team will find the time. But with pull requests, developers just go to the code repository to make a change, and then the only thing they need to wait for is when the operations team actually approve the change. So operations team doesn't need to find the time to do the work. They need to find the time to actually do the reviewing, which is actually much easier, especially if you already have some automatic mechanisms that will not only deploy the code, but also validate that the code is following company policies, the code is following quality standards and stuff like that. And it's much easier, right? So that's the idea. And obviously, it also kind of leads us to the situation that the version control system, where we store our infrastructure, our networking, our database service configurations, is becoming the single source of truth for anything that happens in the company. We just set the boundaries through repositories, through permissions between the repositories, who is the owner, who is the pull request producer, but then the rest of the things are happening automatically. So if someone in the company needs a firewall opening, they need to go to the firewall repository, the repository that describes the firewall state, make a pull request to that. Then the owner of the network will approve the pull request, and as soon as they press the merge button in GitLab or GitHub interface, the automation will deliver that to the final infrastructure, right? So our version control system is becoming the place where all the changes are happening, because many things actually can be expressed as code: documentation, infrastructure, databases, security, code. Yeah, it's all as code. And of course, there are different models in there how we can organize this kind of work. Obviously, pushing and pulling stuff, pushing the changes to the target infrastructure, pulling that, or the infrastructure will pull the changes from the repo. The traditional way, so with teams that are actually managing both the application and the infrastructure themselves, maybe with the smaller teams, the traditional way will be pushing. So let's say you have a code repository, or you have the code, obviously developers are coding something there, and whenever you make a change, the CI pipeline will create a package, or publish a Docker image to the repo, and then also the same pipeline will actually connect to the target infrastructure and deploy the application, right? So that's the push model. So this pipeline is pushing stuff to the infra. We also can do it in the pull model. So of course, developers will still be pushing code to the code repository, but then we'll also have extra repository that contains configuration of applications, how we deploy them to the single environment or several environments. And then this pipeline will only publish the package, like usually the Docker image, but could be something else as well. And then this repository will contain the information about how the application internally, which kind of components does it have, does it need, and then the cluster will actually, or the infrastructure will actually know when there's a new version, will know there's a new change in the config, and will pull it in and deploy it automatically, reconcile and update. It's whatever you prefer, right? Some people prefer pushing, and personally I also prefer the push model, especially for small projects. For bigger projects, having to push too much is actually forcing you to give too much access to the pipeline, which maybe is not always good. For bigger projects, I would actually maybe prefer pull model, because there you can kind of hide the credentials, hide some access information, and then let the environment itself pull stuff from the repo or from the package repository. Right. Also, kind of leads to especially for going in this GitOps mode, sort of. Also, if you're talking about more modern application delivery, it also we're kind of starting to separate the continuous integration and continuous delivery into different repos, into different pipelines. Sometimes, not always, but sometimes. And basically, the CI pipeline will end up publishing something into the package repository, and the CD pipeline will take the config repository and deploy to the target environment. Usually it's Kubernetes, but could be something else as well. Right, but of course it can also be united together, right? It could also be organized in a way that whenever we make a change, whenever we make a push to the container registry, let's say, or package registry of some sort, there's a new version of the package, the application we deploy, then automatic or manual update of the configuration is happening, which also will invoke the pooling mechanism for the config actually to apply to the target environment, which usually is a cluster, a Kubernetes cluster, but again, it could be something else. Right, so this this can also be joined together if needed. Right, so a few examples, some code examples of the code, which I can show you. So the first example I want to show you is based on Terraform. How many of you guys, folks, know Terraform? Most of you. Right. One thing that I'm using with Terraform quite frequently, especially if I need to work with a client for some time, is implement a module, like infrastructure as code module, that encapsulates the idea of the environment. Especially if the project is relatively small, then it's easy to kind of catch what composes the environment. Which services, which databases, which networking openings, and security groups, whatever is composing that, and package that as a single unit that can be used to deploy things in various locations, and maybe different accounts. And usually also using because it's infrastructure as code, obviously. I'm also using things that allow me to deploy different versions or the different configurations of this module to different environments. For example, if we're talking about staging and production, then in staging I would probably use something that is cheaper. In production I would use something that is more expensive for performance reasons. And I want my module to support this kind of option, so that I can actually do configuration of this thing and invoke the module twice for staging and production, having different configurations but the same base source code. And of course, that's just maybe an example I'll show you in code here. Can I? Is it streaming?
Is it streaming? Can you see it on YouTube?
Yeah. Okay, cool. So basically, the idea here is that we do have a module, Terraform module, which describes different aspects of the environment, like it's Amazon in this case, so it's VPC, like networking stuff, firewalls, different monitoring stuff, different database services that are part of any environment where we have to deploy things. This is the module, and then every environment or every account that is part of this big setup is actually invoking this environment. So let's say I'll show you here. So the environment production is invoking the module environment and is configuring things for that environment, right? And the same thing is with the account or environment staging. It's also invoking the module environment. And some of the parameters are default, some of the parameters are different from production, obviously, but essentially it's the same code base. In this, this is pretty much real code from real client. And in this case, this code is not. It's not the only person who is running this code. It's actually the whole team that can go and make changes in this code. And we do have a pipeline. In this case, GitLab CI pipeline, which I hope you can understand because it's not that hard. Which has several stages. Stages that plans the changes for production, and the stage that plans the changes for staging, and the same thing for applying, right? So we have maybe I can show that on. Can I actually? Let me check. If I go here to the pipeline. So whoever commits the change into the code base, in this case it's a trunk-based development, so it's only one branch, the pipeline will be activated, and it will run two stages that will verify the code against production and against staging at the same time. Well, it will not do any mutation changes, it will not do any structure changes, and then, actually in this case it was disabled, but usually the staging, the changes against the staging will actually be executed automatically as well, so we can actually verify that the code not only valid from the perspective of Terraform, but also it's valid from the perspective of the environment state that we currently have. Usually we run automatically, but also in this case it's like we can just press the button when we're ready. But for production it was always manual. So whenever we kind of, as developers of this code, we see that staging environment is correctly converged by the pipeline, by Terraform, then we can make a decision to actually go and apply that thing to production. And you know that's what I would also actually call GitOps as well, because that's the thing. And the cool thing about this code is that you can easily catch who changed what for what reason, and what was the result of the pipeline. And we actually, many of the people who use this pipeline, they don't even install Terraform on their machines because they know the pipeline works for them. They just go into the code, change the code. Okay, it doesn't work. We just make another change or roll back, and then we continue. And all infrastructure changes are open to the whole team in this case. Right. But of course, they're also free to create pull requests if they want. But in this case, it was like fully trunk-based development. The other example, do you know what it is?
Terraform is Ansible?
Yes, exactly. Some people actually call it terrible, but it is Ansible. The idea here is actually pretty much the same, right? It's the code that combines two tools, and that's quite often happening when you have a relatively small project which you want to combine. You want to combine different tools, but you see that one tool is not fulfilling the goal or for the layer that you're trying to configure. For example, in this case, to make the code with Ansible, the idea is that we provision cloud resources with Terraform because it's better for that. But we are actually, let me close this stuff and I will just open another one. So you see, there's a Terraform code that describes some database servers and some key pairs, whatever. And there's also Ansible code, Ansible playbook that basically is using the output of the Terraform code. And just to show you the pipeline, how the pipeline looks, the pipeline looks like that. So, well, actually pretty simple. The first thing that we do is we're actually creating a cloud infrastructure with Terraform, invoking Terraform code. And then the next step, which is the next stage in the pipeline, we actually invoking Ansible after that. We still invoke a bit Terraform here as well to get some details of that, but basically just a private key generated during the run. But the rest of the things, we're actually just invoking Ansible to connect to the same infrastructure we created in the previous step. So combining two tools, still, GitOps, continuous delivery, still the pipeline. Actually, I wanted to show you that pipeline also inside GitLab here. Do I have it? Yeah, I have it here. There's basically two stages. The first thing, Terraform. The second one is invoking Ansible. And this, again, then in this case, specific case, the whole thing was open to the whole team. And if they needed to change, add new servers or create maybe new databases, they would go and change the code in Terraform. This code will activate. And then if they needed to install something directly on the servers, they will go to an Ansible code, and this code will activate. And again, it will continuously be delivered to, in this case, only single environment, but that was a really small project. But again, on a larger scale, we'll probably have more steps here, but on a smaller scale, you can see that it's quite easy to combine things together, and still we have a pipeline that activates on every change. So that we're converging our stuff to the target world. Right. What else do I have here? And of course, one more example is Kubernetes. Is here anyone who never used Kubernetes? Few people. Right. Yeah. Well, maybe you've seen the picture at least. What is Kubernetes? And obviously we're running stuff on many servers and trying to have an API to automate the management of different objects running in those servers, usually container-based. And in terms of GitOps with Kubernetes, actually there are several tools. One of them is Argo CD, another one is Flux CD. Probably there are some others which you can also use. And the idea here is that with Argo CD, you can actually get Kubernetes-based GitOps experience with pull model, because the previous ones with the Ansible and Terraform, I showed you this. This is mostly like push model, where the pipeline is activated by the event, the change event in Git repository, and then the pipeline pushes the changes into the environments through the usage of tools like Terraform. But in this case, the Argo CD is actually running inside the cluster, and it's pulling changes from the Git repository into the cluster, installing applications, installing whatever you like. And of course, we need to configure Argo CD to have this repository so that it can knows about where to get the code. But then when it gets that connection, it continuously looking what's happening with the code, and whenever there's a change, it will go and apply that change onto the repository. So in this case, especially for delivering the changes in the infrastructure, we don't actually, we might not need even the CI tools like GitLab CI or GitHub Actions. Everything will happen in here. The only thing we have to do is actually to make a connection for the repo. And let me actually make a short, quick demo. Argo CD actually has an interface, which maybe is useful sometimes. And let's say I want to connect an application, and I will actually do that. I would call it guestbook. The project name will be default. I would say that the sync policy between the repo and the cluster, our target world, the cluster, will be automatic. And I would say that I want to automatically self-heal and automatically deploy resources so that it's, if something is not converging or something, if there's a configuration drift, then it will go and try to achieve the same state as is currently in the code. Right, so what I also have to say here is the repository, which I want to actually deploy. And well, the good thing I actually have one. I'll just copy this one. So this repository contains the configuration code to actually deploy other things or other objects into my target world. In this case, this is basically Helm, right? So if I go here and into guestbook, that's Helm chart, which contains some deployment and some service, which is a well-known object in Kubernetes world. Basically, I'm saying to Argo CD, please take a look at this repository and continue syncing as long as there are new changes coming in. And I will say that there's going to be main. Head is also fine, and also have to say that it's going to be this path because my code for this specific application deployment is inside the guestbook folder inside this repository. Right, so let's go. The cluster URL, going to use the local cluster, and the namespace will be default. That's not very relevant, that's not very important now. Okay, create. See what happens is that this guy is connected to the repo, pull the code, and started deploying the structures that are deployed in that code. The configuration objects, the declarative objects that deploy the code. And after like a few seconds, you see it's healthy. If you click on this one, you can actually take a look and see what kind of objects it deployed. So it's not only declarative things that we're getting from the code, but also it's kind of declaratively showing us the dependence between them. And then maybe we can take a look what's the status, what's the thing with them. And if I go and delete some object, let's say maybe from here, maybe from there, then it will actually detect that and we'll try to fix it. Actually, let me try to do that. Delete. Yeah, I'm doing that on purpose. Yeah, I mean, actually, immediately sync that up. So I deleted that, but you see, it's like it's a few seconds and then you kind of get back. Here's a minute, so there's a difference between that. So it's automatically detecting if somebody goes and tries to kill or delete or do some harm to my application. Argo CD will automatically put it back because that's the idea. Right. So that's one way to deploy things into Argo CD. And of course, well, we're DevOps people. Probably we don't like using UIs that much. You can actually also add these things through command line. There's a command line interface for Argo CD, and those also, if you want to, there's also Terraform provider for Argo CD. You can also do it from that. But I just wanted to show you one more thing, is that basically you can kind of have let's see if I go to applications, you can have sort of a meta application or meta repository which contains the definitions of your applications for Argo CD. I'll just show you that. I'll delete this one. So in this case, it will disappear because I'm deleting the master object, the application. It will disappear. But I will actually add another application. I will add another application which basically comes from the same repo, but it has something else in that. I'll show you in a moment. So it's going to be the repo here. Just need the URL again. Main, and the path will be meta, and the cluster URL will be the same. Namespace will be default. Right. So, okay, let's go. So just to show you what's in that repo. In that repo, actually, there is a few YAML files, few declarations of Kubernetes objects. And in this case, I'm actually describing what kind of application I want to deploy, or I want Argo CD to deploy. Actually, that's the CRD from our Argo CD that describes the application, describes the connection between the repo, the cluster, and the different policies and stuff like that. And I'm deploying that I'm asking Argo CD to deploy this application into the cluster, and as soon as this object is in the cluster, Argo CD also notices that and configures the application to deploy the application. Right. So basically, if you take a look at the dashboard, we have two apps now. One is the meta, which contains the apps, the other apps, and here's the test. Right, the test application we just deployed. If I go and delete this application, let's say, no problem. Boom, it immediately popped up back because that's the parent, that's the owner, right? It's controlling the fact that we have connectivity between the repo and the state of our target world, which in this case is Kubernetes. Right, and of course, in this case, I'm just deploying some dummy application with some dummy web app. But in general, this manifests these things that we put into Helm or customize or some other things can contain anything. It could be a Kafka cluster, or RabbitMQ cluster, or some MySQL database. We can just keep it in the same way. And any change in the repository will activate the converging. Okay. I think that's all.
Thank you.
Any questions?
Can Argo CD monitor state of, for example, AWS and heal the infrastructure itself if it detects convergence in the config? For example, someone changed security group, can it heal it back up to previous state?
Not directly, but there's an operator for Amazon, so you can basically you can make an operator object in Amazon's operator and make Argo CD to deploy those objects, and this will kind of serve as a mechanism for that. But in that case, maybe you don't need Argo CD actually.
Yeah. And I have another question. So last week there was a demo which was focused on SRE, but it was more focused about the culture things rather than tools. Your presentation was more about tools.
Yeah.
So which GitOps is it about correct choice of tooling, or is it more about actual, I would say, culture?
I think it's both. Yeah, well, because if people don't realize that there are some tools that actually save them time and money, and they kind of try to ignore them, then I guess it's not part of their culture. It's not part of their understanding of how the world works. So yeah, I guess it's both. It's both because this kind of tools well, personally I've seen lots of situations where they solved the communication problems between people. Like we were using the amount of communication has to be done, and we were kind of increase the amount of time people actually can spend on bringing value to the business. So yeah, I think it's both. It's both.
Thank you.
Yes.
Can I have two questions?
Sure.
First one, in the DevOps, we can provide for different teams as a platform by using which same APIs, they can manage this infrastructure and not be like dependent one on another. Which approach is better, this one or just providing some platform?
I guess it depends on the company, and I guess it also depends on the size of the company. The bigger is the company, the bigger is the chance that you need platform with some predefined APIs that like simplify the life of developers. But if the company is smaller, then it's probably okay kind of to have this all together. But you know, platform engineering doesn't cancel GitOps. Still, the platform team will probably use GitOps to actually manage the platform.
Yeah, I read today writing about it, platform engineering will like cancel the devs at all.
Yeah. To be honest, it's bullshit.
Yeah. And the second one, why this GitOps is separate from the DevOps at all?
It's not.
It's not
No,
separate?
it's not.
It goes like the sum of the practices?
Yeah.
Like that? Oh, okay.
It's more like a technical view of an implementation for that.
Because in the beginning I was not understand. I think it's another methodology.
No.
Now
Not at all.
It's just
Not at
a
all.
new practice. Yeah.
It's not a new practice, but you know, it's like it's more like technical excellence applied to existing practices.
Okay.
Yes.
A little bit philosophical, but still. Is it possible to somehow choke Argo CD by, for example, implementing some QA for Helm, Lints, for Terraform validation, so on and so forth, so that the whole process actually is more stuck just for validation, not actually for the CD itself to sync state?
You mean like validate the run some quality checks against the code?
Yes.
But you know, but nobody cancelled CI, so you can still have some CI checks on the repo where you have the code for Argo CD.
But isn't it then kind of already isolation anyway, because you're kind of decoupling this thing?
Yeah, maybe to some extent, yeah. You can actually use hooks in there as well. You can run the checks as a hook inside Kubernetes to kind of not allow you to do something, but yeah.
Yeah, but then it's not really constructing the sense of Argo CD, because it's focused on Argo CD as the, like, I don't know, like viewpoint or viewport, then you just don't see it. And that kind of is separation that you then go back a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes.
Regarding GitOps, imagine case, all firewall rules in Git repo, so anyone who can create this pull request also see all the information about privacy.
But what do you store in your firewall rules?
Yeah,
Passwords?
So anyone who can access this Git repo sees all the infrastructure related stuff. So basically,
What's the problem?
Problem?
Yeah.
For example, developer joins, okay, he wants to have access to something, he creates pull request.
Yes.
He has all infrastructure information.
But it's not a problem, is it? Wow. But if you know which ports are open in the whole company, what does it give you?
You know all this, how
It's security over obscurity, it doesn't work.
I can give you a hint, since he pretty much opened up real project files on the screen, which are now readable on YouTube. You can go there, look, try to hack his code. If you're right, you'll have some headache tomorrow, changing everything.
No, but the code is protected. You cannot really push merge to the main branch. There is some protection mechanism, like pull request is a protection mechanism. The problem is a pipeline attached to a pull request, which will verify the code, which is changed. And only the owner of the repo can approve the pull request and merge it into the main. Only the merge into the main branch will invoke the deployment. So I don't see the problem that people see the code because they cannot change anything unless there is someone with.
I would think it's private. I would say.
Like what?
Information for production
Like
for
what?
everybody to see what kind of infrastructure is in production.
But that's fine. Seriously, I don't believe in security over obscurity. It doesn't work. I mean, yeah.
Okay, in defense of these speakers, it's not about security versus obscurity, but there are like legal situations where like you are not allowed to give developers any kind of access to push anything. So just legally speaking, policy-wise, you're like you need to prove that like no developer has access to any infrastructure, and vice versa, no system administrator has any access to like application code. So there are certain situations where that actually applies.
Yeah, yeah. But then if you have like staging and production infrastructures, then you can always test things in staging, and then the same code should go into production. Well, they still see some part of the code anyway.
Sure, but this is just a compliance issue.
Yeah, I agree. Sometimes there could be things, but in many of the situations that I've seen, including compliance, that's.
Since we're talking about compliance,
yeah.
If I, as a developer, make a merge request to open a port, whatever, it's a small change, could be worse.
Yeah.
Somebody from the infrastructure team doesn't really read, just presses, yeah, sure, approve, and it's nothing further. But then something happens. Who gets fired?
Nobody. Nobody. That all.
Well, okay, not fired. I'm just thinking, who takes the blame, right? So
nobody.
As a developer, it's not my responsibility to know what my infrastructure changed. That's really not my job to know, right? I'm a developer. It's the other person's job to.
Yeah, but that means that your pipeline, the code that actually is checking the code and deploying the code, didn't verify the code good enough. You can go and improve the pipeline and not allow this change to happen anymore.
The pipeline doesn't really have like 15 years of networking experience.
No, it doesn't. But I mean, it's.
I'm not trying to.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
Can I just add something? But if you do stuff like this, like providing these GitOps, then you need to think like step over. For example, the same AWS, what we see here, they already can be integrated with the policy what will check that you open some secure port. For example, for 22 will go open to all the world. But this stuff already can be done, I think, very securely.
Your pipeline may protect you from certain types of changes. So if somebody wants to open a port like 22, your pipeline may block it and don't allow it. And you will see that at the level of pull request. The pipeline will say it's against the company's policy. You're not allowed to commit this change or merge this change. And this will be feedback to a guy with 15 years of experience.
And if this change go to production, there's no need to fire someone. It's not convenience. I would say it's a team responsibility.
It was just. I'm not suggesting fire anybody.
All right, so we can keep these discussions later on when we have the DevOps talk. This can be one of the topics, for example, as well, after the presentations. So, thank you very much for your presentation. I think it was very great. And for the questions, we do give you money, but in Amazon. So, you can choose two of the people who asked questions that you deem to be most interesting or something.
I guess the guy about the possible compliance.
We have two of these.
Yes. And
Alrighty. So, walk back there. All right.
Who was the first question? Was that?
Yeah, the initial question was.
Is he getting one as well?
Okay. All right. So, how do we continue? Thank you very much for the presentation, and then we will have a short kind of a game, which is called DevOps Karaoke, and Artus will explain you everything about it.
Artus will sing. Let me connect everything. Yeah, it's working. Okay, so DevOps Karaoke. Those who do not know, this will be a little game where we will find some
random person. Well, in this case, it's not really random because, like last time, we had someone who actually volunteered. And this random person will be given a set of slides. We'll have 5 minutes. These slides will advance every 15 seconds, and he will need to come up with a presentation on the spot. So, lucky volunteer, Andre, are you ready?
No, I'm not ready because I don't know what's in the slides, but we'll see how it goes.
Okay. What happened? Yeah, nothing. Okay, so 15 seconds per slide.
Okay.
5 minutes.
Oh, 5 minutes, oh god, that's a lot of slide.
Yeah, and you can start.
Okay, so welcome to Christmas karaoke. So this time I won't be singing, I will be telling you some random story which I don't know what will happen. Yep, so welcome to Christmas karaoke. Yes, so yeah, so here it is how actually DevOps guy comes to team of developers. He says, like, here you can take some wheels and like improve your process. But the guy's telling me, no, we're not too busy. And so the DevOps guy is actually becoming sad. It's like Christmas spirit coming up, and he's crying, he's sad. Like maybe Yoda, just like poor DevOps guy, is like very sad. So the Yoda comes to the office, he is trying to improve the Christmas spirits. He puts Christmas hats on top of every PC so that his colleagues will be happy and maybe reconsider and will give in into his actual DevOps practice. But here we see that sysadmins are actually out on holidays. We have only Christmas tree to hopefully that, to the hope that production will not break over the weekends. And they actually say Christmas tree burns down the whole production. So we see that how it's burning in like huge flames. Yeah, so the admin guy actually had a huge accident on the street. He slipped up and injured himself, unfortunately. He's coming up back to work to look how the Christmas tree is working, and every of his colleague took the Christmas hat from his monitor and put on their head, and they're now questioning him, hey, what is going on, why are you not wearing a hat? And here we have our usual state of our Kubernetes cluster, where some of containers are still running, half of them are on fire, and ship is just moving forwards with no idea how coming out. So the whole team actually gave in because poor ops guy is now on sick leave. So they have to fix the production themselves. They go into the server room and ask the elf lady what is going on, and the not elf lady, but whatever. And that's her reaction when she sees the configuration of the server. So like, what is going on? Why is this? It's so bad. Yeah. So the actual ops guy has recovered. He's now looking at all the state, what's going on in the server room. He has no idea how to proceed with this. He is just drinking beer and he has grown beer belly. And management is like asking the top guy, so what is it? What you'd say you do here? And he's like, I don't know. The developers are fixing the production. So one of the containers has drifted configuration, so we have no idea what's going on with that container, so it's just sailing on its own. It's working, but we have no idea who brought it up, what is configuration. And the poor ops guy is actually fired by the elves. So elves has taken over the server room, and those guy unfortunately has to leave because his answer wasn't appropriate for the managers, and now the poor ops guy has turned into the Grinch. It's not Grinch, sorry, it's Gremlin. So he has turned into Gremlin, and he's like, I will destroy this server. And now, yeah, I'm not sure how to comment this now. He's turned evil. but I'm not sure. It seems that like his poor elves has turned evil as well and helping him to screw up the server room. Now that's the state of the server room. Rex has fallen apart. Production is dead. We have no idea what is going on. So who will fix it? So oh, that's a fancy slate we have here. So here comes the ops guy with his fancy new slate, which comes in form of GitOps. He will now configure everything as a GitOps and provide the working infrastructure. And now everyone is happy. Management is happy. Ops guy is happy. Here he's in the middle in Santa costume, and all the clients are happy as well. So that is it. Thank you for it.
So, if you want to do such a presentation next time, in that case, you'll have a chance to volunteer next time, basically. Because, yeah, this time we have only one presentation about this. But yeah, before we can actually go on a break, little ad break. So today's sponsor of event is Emergent, and sorry. Yeah. Basically, I need to tell a couple of words about Emergent. So our motto is to improve the way people and companies work forever. We are a relatively small company, have about 700 people in 6 locations in 13 offices. If I'm not mistaken, then we have 3 offices in Latvia currently. Yeah. Our main things that we're doing is consulting, so there's consulting services, but additionally we're providing also technology services, bespoke custom solutions, and also learning. So if anyone is interested to check out how you can make some impact, in that case there's a QR code, don't hesitate to scan it, or just check out some of our vacancies, and yeah, that's pretty much it. Okay, I won't hold you any longer. So there's some beer outside, some snacks. So please
Thank you,
grab something.
Emergent.
I guess 15-minute break.
Yes, now we went out for a 15-minute quick break, and we will be right back.
Come on, go.
Vai ali Right. Everybody's back, and we can continue then. And we continue with our next lovely presenter, Anita, with a lovely presentation about motivation and competence. Give it a hand to Anita.
Good evening, everybody. Happy to be here. I basically listening to the Andres presentation, which was the first one. I remembered myself some a little bit more than 20 years ago when I was trying to digitalize one of HR processes. And so we were telling what we need the system to do, and then those IT guys, they were talking in between themselves how they are going to solve it. And I understood 3 words there: and, or, and but. So this happened during this presentation, the same thing, so nothing changed. So in case in my presentation you also understand just 3 words, that's normal, you know, it happens to people, that you cannot always be on top of the things. But I'm trying to get up and hope in a half year we can have more complex conversations on IT subjects. But now about the motivation as a competence. So a little bit about myself. So I'm coming from people and leadership training, and one thing what I really explored in my life is a change, and change management in its a very different formats, trying to change my career and then helping organizations to change, and some of that worked, some not. So basically I ended up working all over with people and trying to understand them, what they are doing, why they are doing, and especially if they are in the positions where they are trying to lead other people. But today it's not easy to lead other people because out of people here who are here, so is anyone here who is basically doing your work physically? That's physical work. There was this comic where they put this animal, I don't know how you call it in English, but Kamis? Hamster, yeah, the guy just dropped out some chips on the taste.
What do you mean by physical, like construction work or?
Yeah, physical job, like doing physical work, yeah, because assumption is that you all do cognitive work, so basically you work with your brains, and it's not easy task, because once people are doing cognitive work, it's from outside how it looks like. You do nothing all the day. And then, of course, anyone from outside coming into your office or calling into you, they cannot say, are you really working, or are you tired, or are you maybe already burned out, or maybe you are not waking up from yesterday's party. So it's not possible to tell from outside. So it's just about yourself leading yourself. If you manage it, then it works. If not, then not say your managers. That's very hard to help them because it's quite impossible task. So this is what I do. Basically, working with companies who employ cognitive and emotional workers, and then it takes quite a lot of also knowledge and practice. So then about the motivation as a competence, and before we start, I have a question. So who can ride a bicycle? Okay. If you would be waking up in, 3 a.m. in the morning and you would be asked to ride a bicycle, could you do it? Yes. So, the same is with competence, with motivation. So, it should be something that is always here. So, basically, whenever you are asked to go and do the job, So you are motivated. Are you?
No.
It's not really working this way.
Not enough.
But sometimes it works. So just remembering, like last time when you were motivated, so what happened? So now you don't have to tell, just think about the time and when you have been motivated, you felt motivated, and yeah, what was going on? What have been you doing? And also, what have been you doing before that? So whole story. So what was going on?
Like a change of workplace, new work, a new project, new challenges, and I felt motivated. But before that, motivation like steadily became decreased more and more and more until I found like a new workplace, new challenges.
Mm-hmm. So it sounds like pretty external motivation. So this is one of the quotes I found for this presentation, that basically we are motivated by something from outside. Like challenge is a typical thing. And coming to my story about the motivation, it's also has been like I've tried all kinds of motivation. Basically external motivation for myself works very well, so no doubt. I've tried it and basically managed up to the vice president's position, having everything what you can imagine, like company car and severance pays and all nice offices all around. And then one day you wake up and there's no challenge and you're not motivated anymore and you cannot pull yourself to go to the work. And then it ended up with myself starting a freelance work because that I felt like is an excitement. But together with freelance work, I also took up the PhD studies and small kids. Wow. Is there anyone with small kids? There are a few. So you know the drill. So it's perfect. And what I really found out is, okay, now I might be motivated because I'm doing finally what I want to do and what I like to do. And so I cannot blame this part because usually we blame that the job is boring and manager is stupid, but this was not anymore the case. And the other thing what I found out that with this schedule, with 3 kids at the home, with my PhD and with the freelance business, there's maybe 1 or 2 hours in a day when I can really do the work. And if I'm not motivated during those 2 hours, then nothing gets done. And so the temptation and this challenge to overcome my willingness more to play Angry Birds than do anything business related, that also I brought up in this presentation. So it might also help somewhere else. For somebody else. So about motivation, I thought that I wrote a PhD and I was writing PhD about the modern careers, and of course there was a lot of topics around it, and one of the things which comes with successful career is motivation. And this I found in one article saying that motivation comes from French and Latin words and basically means that it's excited movement. So that you are excited. And that reminded myself about all my grandmas, 2 of them. They both said the same thing, that if you are doing something, you should be doing this with a joy. If you do not have a joy, don't do it. So this somehow really matched together, and that's motivation thing is something that it's something about the joy, being joyful doing whatever you are doing. And then going to the next definition, it's about the competence. And the same with the bicycle riding. So what we know, it's basically competence is about knowledge, it's about the skills, and it's about abilities. So it's 3 things all together put, and then we can say that yes, we do have a competence. When it comes to the knowledge, it's answering to the question what to do. And this hieroglyph is from Peter Senge, 5th Discipline book. Maybe somebody has seen it somewhere. I don't know from which language this hieroglyph is, because when I say it, then we usually start argument in the audience about Chinese, which I'm not, I even less understand than IT. So It's basically what it says is that the knowledge has 2 points. It's one thing is that they have a symbol with the child standing in the doors, and it means studying. Basically, it means putting books into your head, like reading, like collecting knowledge into yourself. And the second one means bird flying out of the nest, which means that you are applying knowledge. So this is, and basically we can, when it comes to the learning, then we can say that person has learned something only when he does the second thing. It's until people are collecting diplomas and certificates, then it's really not helpful. It's only helpful when it's put in use and other people can see. But so basically, knowledge is that we know what should be done. Unfortunately, a lot of people stay in this level. They know what should be done, but they never come to the next points. And the next point is about skills. It's about how to do. And how to do, and yeah, basically that's the way we practically do whatever we know or we think that should be done. So this is where we apply it. And ability, it's about what to do. So basically the question and motivation comes here, ability. Because as this nice animal, you know that there's a saying that I can dig and I cannot dig. So what do you know? It's I can do and I cannot do. So it goes. And so basically I might have knowledge, I might have skills, but if I do not have this ability, then I'm not doing anything anyway. So just because I'm not sure what the reason is behind, so what should be there. And putting it all together, so motivation as a competence, it's about person having a knowledge, having skills, and having ability to experience excitement and joy while doing the work. And I came to this idea basically watching some artists. You know, when you go to the theater, you go to some concert, the artist comes on the stage. Have you ever seen somebody saying that he or she is not motivated tonight? Not, maybe somewhere, but not really, especially if the tickets are expensive. This never happens. They usually come on and then, so it's wonder, so what do they do? Because it must be that you cannot be like all the time optimistic and all the time very, very like able to work. So there is some trick how basically you get yourself to the stage and do. And sometimes the stage is for 8 hours a day, sometimes it's just a concert. However, it's not just a concert because in my family there are a lot of Beatle fans and they are reading now some history of Beatles, and it turns out that when they had to record their first recordings, they just get a slot in this place where you can record music, and it was from 4 to 6. So either you have inspiration at that moment, or you do not have recording. And it costs quite a lot. So motivation is something you really need to have, the same as ability to ride a bicycle. It should be something that it's there, that I can manage it. And some motivations, why to be motivated. So maybe this helps if you are still not excited about being motivated all the time, because being not motivated, it's not so bad. You know, you come with a grumpy face to the work, and you're a little bit lazy, everybody understands you, maybe you can do less. But motivation, why it's important. So basically, it's one thing is that it helps people to be happier. Of course, if you do things with a joy, there is a lot of those chemicals inside your body, like serotonin, dopamine, and all other nice things. Of course, once you are smiling and being happy, it tends to be there, so you feel happier all over. So that's one good thing. Improves relationship. Of course, if you have somebody excited and joyful beside you, it's always good to make friends and be in a friendship that's there. Healthier. This maybe this will come also later on, because how we can keep ourselves motivated it takes a lot of care of yourself. So it's basically you have to be quite healthy in order to be motivated. Because if you are not really in a good shape, the motivation is also somewhere. So that's also, sometimes it's good to check on your colleagues if you see that they are not really up to their highest energy levels for a long time. Maybe check how they are doing. It might be that some health checks could be helpful. So motivation helps you to grow, because whenever we have this new challenge in our hands, and we are looking in the crowd to which we will give this, to which person you will give your new challenge, your new exciting project, which one in the audience will get it?
Where the eyes are sparkling.
Where the eyes are sparkling, who is really not like those who are trying to hide away, but the ones who are really, that you feel that they have power to do it. Productivity, that's basically all HR department is obsessed with, so you should not be, but it boosts productivity. Of course, you can do much more in a shorter periods of time. I remember I had a few crazy bosses in my life. One was extremely, and we had a lot of conversations with himself about, you know, those employee satisfaction surveys. I guess you are all getting them. Everybody's nodding heads, so maybe recently. But like I was once presenting this satisfaction survey, results were very good, and he said like that. I'm saying that we are good, so we are lucky ones. Everybody is more or less satisfied. He said he does not need any satisfied employee in his company. He needs only motivated ones. Okay, so productivity is a good thing to be there. Definitely it can help you to advance your career. So it's additional energy. Of course, you can do things. It inspires others. It's really something contagious. If you see somebody being very joyful and energetic, people are trying to basically lift themselves up, level up with yourself. So that's that's also there. It might help to get through tough times, because motivation, in the end of the day, it's a lot of discipline and self-discipline about keeping up. And if you have this routine already in your blood and DNA, then, or your code, then it works. Then it helps you to basically go through also the times when it's when you are, as you previously in the discussion, there was that we should be looking whom to blame. That's something, the culture we cannot get. I don't think that we will get out of this culture in our generation. It will take a few more generations until we will get out this thinking that there should be somebody to blame. Yeah, and of course it's essential for good leadership. So I haven't seen anybody to be promoted as a manager if he or she was not motivated to do the job at first hand. So that's like precondition. So if you want to be promoted, that's there. So that's quite a list of reasons why, but in the internet you can find more. So just keep looking. If you all of a sudden lose your motivation to be motivated, you can find some good articles about that. So now to the practical tools. So how to do it. Of course, practice makes perfect, you know, just repeating is a good thing. And 3 things to be done. First of all, knowing yourself. Second, prioritizing yourself. And third, taking care of yourself. It sounds simple, but not so easy in the end of the day. So know yourself. So I really like this quote from Scruton, who said that like becoming yourself means that you have to become the person that other people see you. And I guess you know by yourself that you like look at your colleague and think about, he could do this and that, and she could be that, this and that, and this is what we think about other people. But basically they think the same thing about us. And the question is, are we there? So are we really coming to the people, what other people see in us? So knowing yourself, it's, I would say, a lifelong journey. I believe everybody is still on it, whether you are doing it on purpose, mindfully, or you are just living on. But there's a lot of things to learn. So it's about who you are, what do you like, what you don't like. One good practice how to do this is basically look around your colleagues which you like very much and which you hate a lot. They all are about you. That I've tested. It's really so. So it's whenever you find yourself in situations which you don't like, so it's something they are telling something about you. And this knowing yourself, it basically takes a lot of time by yourself. So time just for yourself. How much do you have it?
Depends.
Just for yourself, where you are not working, you are not being with family, you are not doing any homeworks, you are just just being and listening to silence and yourself. There are some techniques like meditation and writing diary. Both take about maybe 5 to 15 minutes per day. Usually people say that they don't have time for it. That's something. It's not much, but in the end of the day, this time when you could possibly know yourself, we tend to basically spend it on scrolling internet or solving some problem at work or playing conversations which you should be having in the day or after. So there's a lot of things what we can do, not basically being about yourself. But what you can do, SWOT analysis is one thing. So that's, what SWOT analysis, I guess it's pretty, but people do it for themselves. And you can also ask your colleagues, friends and family, because they can tell you something which you might not be noticing, both good and maybe some areas for improvement. But this is one way how to dedicate some time and learn about who you are. Self-reflection, I already mentioned, the diary, but you can also get some supervisions or therapies or just meditative walks by the sea and feedback. That's, I guess, on the job, we usually get the feedback that this is not working and that is not working. The question is, do we really get feedback on ourselves? I know that as I'm training managers, there's those annual development conversations. Do you have those? Something annual? Quarterly or annually? And it's a very strange thing because when people become managers, they all of a sudden don't like those conversations. And when you ask them to reflect back, so when they were just an employee, they usually say that this was the thing they were looking forward all year. Because that was, it's good that it's quarterly now, but it's basically something what people really look forward, because finally somebody is talking about themselves, not about all the mistakes and bugs and everything else what comes up in the work. So that's could be a good place to do it. So knowing yourself, prioritizing yourself. That might be the greatest challenge. I don't know even what's worse out of those. Either this topic of how can I know myself and how much time I spend to it and how high quality guides I can get into my way to learning about myself, or basically being able to prioritize myself. The good book I can suggest here is Jordan Peterson, 12 Rules for Life. I will have a quote later on this, but he really in this book describes that people are self-sabotagers at the highest level possible. People are not even taking pills to adapt their kidneys, so basically they cannot survive without those pills, but they feed the dog, but they don't take pills by themselves. So ability to prioritize yourself is more challenging than it sounds. And if you think about, so if you have now a lot of things to do, you have your gym session, then you have something at work, then your wife calls or husband calls. So what you will do? So what will happen? So this, a lot of things what we have, I should even maybe made some more. You can add some additional ones. But the question is, can you really put yourself in the first place? And why it's needed, it's coming back to this intro about doing the cognitive work. So what myself, looking at you, what I can tell about yourself, I can assume that it's Tuesday evening, that maybe not everybody is in its best, maybe some are, because maybe some are just waking up at this time finally to be ready to work. It could be different. We cannot, from the outside, we cannot do. And as you are doing your work with your brains, so basically if you are all of a sudden not able to show up, either for your family or for your work or for anything, then what we are left with? Not much.
Work.
Work. Basically, you are not, because you are not showing up at work. So it's not there. You are not able to do it anymore. So put yourself in the first place. Take care about yourself, and then about the rest of the world. You know, one of my experiences comes from aviation, and whenever you are in airplanes, they put this safety show, and it says that, like, before helping others, you should put the mask on yourself. So working there, it didn't help me. I burned out there, but later I started to understand this message. So it's a good message should be played every day, every morning when you open your screen. It should be played there, the safety announcement from the crew. Okay. So, and yeah, take care about yourself. So it's again easy to say, not so easy to do, because there's a lot of temptations around, like work, for example, and all other nice things around. But there is some way how to basically make it happen. So, and I will share this Maslow's needs hierarchy here. So what we have. So basically the idea is that everybody has a needs, and whenever one of our needs is not met, we become quite impossible people. For others, for ourselves, we feel bad, we feel stressful, anxious, and it's not working. So good idea is to first of all know what your needs are. So here can help you that you know yourself. So physiological needs, sleeping, physical activities, food, water, very, very basic things. Usually we could have that. Safety. About the safety, it's getting more trickier, but so what does it mean, safety? Safety means that you have some, first of all, order in your life. It could be different, and people understand different things by order, that's fine. That's one thing. Cleanliness is the other thing, that it's clean and tight. That's other thing what brings safety feeling. Then of course there's a financial aspect also is here. So are you financially secure? And this means, first of all, that you have job that you pay out salary at a certain date. Second, you have accruals that in case they don't pay you out, you can live for 6 months without bothering a lot of that. And I hope that it's there. Otherwise, it gets really tricky. And the third thing is that you are keeping to grow and to develop, because whatever you are doing today, most probably tomorrow it will not be valid. So the question is, what are you learning today so that your job will be secure tomorrow? So that's something that should be always there. So that's how to take care about safety. Love and belongingness, social needs. It's really great that you are all here. Today, while I was driving here, somebody called me and said that, you know, those face-to-face events are not popular anymore. No one is willing to meet. I said, can't be, because I'm going to face-to-face networking. And so, but no, everybody likes to go digital and in some Zoom or Teams or something like that. I said, you know, but I'm meeting IT folks, so it could not be the truth. And socializing is very, very important. And of course, COVID did its harm. It's not that it passed without any consequences. People are not so easy going with communication as they were before. I know that some companies even get training on how to start to talk to people with that it's snowing outside. And it sounds crazy, but I work in university and there were students coming in and saying that, you know, before COVID I believed that I'm extrovert, now I think I'm introvert. The guy wrote paper on introverts and extroverts. I hope that he will know coming back to the normal. So socializing is very, very important. And of course, we need to take care of it. Self-esteem. So how do we basically celebrate our achievements and recognitions? So this is the very trick, because all those needs you have to basically, adults can fulfill those needs by themselves. We don't need managers, we don't need spouses, we don't need employers or anyone else to fulfill those needs. If you are an adult, you can do it all by yourself. And with self-esteem, it's something crazy. As I work as a coach, I know the very easy trick how to make people cry. So when they come to myself and say that manager is not evaluating myself, I'm not value for my manager, I receive no recognition. And then I ask, so how do you make recognition to yourself? How do you appreciate your achievements? How do you celebrate them? This is the point where everybody cries.
Oh.
It's very hard thing to think, but if I'm not happy about my achievements, how can anybody else be? So how can this manager know that it really had been hard job to do it and be there? And it's deficiency needs. Basically, if those 4 needs are not covered, person is close to draining. It's not good to make any mistake there. Then we have all other, so growing needs, and it's cognitive, so we need to understand. So this I saw that this is something what you are trying to do here, at least I saw in Andres' presentation and questions there. There is this wish to understand how it works. Aesthetic, it's about, it's not so much about the beauty, because beauty we can have a different versions about what's beautiful, what's not, but aesthetic, it's about having some rhythm. So basically having something that you know that it will repeat with certain frequency. So anything, something that it's there. Self-actualization, fulfilling your personal potential. Good if it's in your job, then it's perfect. Sometimes it's not, but still then the question is like in this Maslow's citation that then who you are. So this is the need Maslow is basically calling to fulfill, that you have to be your best. You have to make out your potential. If you will not do it, it's quite unbelievable that you will be happy. And transcendence. So basically we are living and we want to live forever. So maybe that Facebook might help with that, but I'm not sure. So we are willing to leave our knowledge, we want to share, we basically look for also some spiritual rituals or something, but there is this need to be something more, not just somebody who comes to the work and then feeds family and lives on. There's always some higher calling. So these are the needs. You can fulfill them by yourself, and how you do it. So it's very easy. You just ask your question, so what I am obliged to do to feel good. And there are some things which you have to do every day, week, months, or quarter, or maybe half a year. And write down. So write down your motivational action book. So this is what I have to do to feel good. So if I do it, then everything's fine. Make sure that whatever you write here, that it has and covers some need here. If some need is not covered, you have to figure out what you should be adding there. Of course, people are individuals. It could be different requirements when you would be willing to have it, but how often. But otherwise, it should be there. Also, it's good that it goes in line with your calendar and with your budget. That's tips and tricks from my side. But otherwise, yeah, and all activities, whatever you write in this plan, it should be something that you can do it on your own, without other people being responsible for something. It's, yeah, you can do it for your own and do it. Really works. I tried it. Basically, still doing. It's and the better idea is that whatever you are writing there, that you do it in the morning, because then you have like you did it for yourself already. It's not that you are taking care about yourself, whatever left after work, but if you really took care about yourself in the morning, usually you are much better person throughout the day. So that's a story. Some more quotes. Yeah, that's very old one, but it is a very true one. That motivation is like taking a shower. So you should be doing it every day. It's not that you can do it like once in a month and then wonder what's happened. And yeah, some more maybe quotes for inspiration that we can be responsible for our motivation. And I especially like that one, that it's try to understand our own motivation, what it boosts up and down. Then it will bring all the joy and happiness in our lives and in whatever works we might have. So that's it. Merry Christmas.
Now I have to admit that I would ask for 3 or 5 minutes. But first of all, on the muscle pyramid. And first of all, answer questions to her.
So questions.
Questions. That was not a
I
question.
have some questions, but they might destroy the picture of the world.
Now you spooked everybody.
Yeah.
No, actually, one of my professors says that Maslow's pyramid is. Okay, let's use word bullshit.
It's okay.
So yeah.
Maslow himself never drew a pyramid. Never
the
ever.
concept that it was done in America and it doesn't really work. I don't remember what he's playing because I was very shocked. Like, what? So yeah.
No, there are different ways, of course, how to look at what people need to be, what people really need and want, and of course we try to understand. And Maslow is just one way how to make some logic out of it. But definitely he never put them in the pyramid. That was what I've read in one article, that it was the conspiracy of big corporations who did it. That basically what corporations did, they did that self-actualization is the top, and that there are just those deficiencies in it, and then self-actualization as like cream of the cream. It was not really fair. But yeah, of course, the scientist was not really popular at its time in America, so it could be quite a lot of.
We have spooky question.
No, I have a practical example which you might really love, because it's so spooky.
Yeah, so it's there. It's one of the ways how to classify what you want.
Spooky story?
Okay, let's go.
There's one more question. What's the question?
Sorry, it's about motivation. It's important but dangerous things. Do you know about main four goals which kill any motivation in any people? Just four main goals.
Sorry?
You must be motivated.
You must be motivated.
Yeah, you must be. Then in child told me about motivation. I grab my pistol maybe because it's a dangerous thing. I can be motivation at any time, and then it's like a rule. You must be motivated for growing up, for your career, like, and some different difference. I feel some difference about roles.
Very good comment, because I think all good things are killed with must.
Yeah.
You must go jogging.
Yeah.
You must sleep. You must eat. No, I will not. So it is about your choice. So until you are doing it just because you must or have to, then it's going to work against you. Whatever activity you take. I have to go to work. But whenever I choose that, yes, I like working, I love working, and I want to be energetic and positive and joyful while I'm doing this, then it kicks in a different attitude. But yeah, never do things just because you must. It contradicts what I told the story about my grandmothers. So if you don't experience joy, you must not do it.
Yeah.
It's better not to do it than to do something just because you must.
And something letters from HR department can be a help for motivation. Like if we motivating.
Yeah.
I have a question. When they talk about motivation, they always say you cannot really motivate anyone to be motivated. And the person, it's something you work with yourself to be motivated, so no one can't actually motivate you. So the question is how to motivate people.
How to motivate. So one thing how you can motivate people is you can help them understand themselves. Because, for example, myself, I did some time of self-study for some 10 years trying to understand what I need. And believe me, there are evenings when I come home from work and I think, so what do I need now? Half an hour sleep, 5 kilometers run, or glass of wine? It's a very hard choice. But with time, you basically learn to understand yourself what you really need. Is this really sleep, or it's really better walk outside, or it's really time for a wine? So, but what we can do with others, we can help them to really understand what they need. Because people are not. So one thing is to understand what people need. Another thing is help understand basically what they want. It's even worse. And this is usually people basically do not know. They never ask those questions, because when we talk about this time, what you spend by learning about yourself, usually there's no time. Because it takes quite a self-discipline to take yourself in the evening for 10 minutes, write your diary, how you felt during the day and what frustrated you, what you liked, what you didn't like. And then you need some time after to read it that you can learn something about you, what you like and what you don't like. And then you can come to the fact that okay, maybe some fresh air will be more helpful than a glass of wine, but not always.
I have a few questions. First of all, you separate motivation and will in your explanation, because time to time mess does the will and motivation in your case is the same or different stuff?
It's different.
Different.
It's different, because to be motivated, it takes a will.
Okay.
And there were basically some quotes also about that one. That's basically you have to, it's again have to or you must, but basically it's my decision. So do I do that or not? So because I can always say that I cannot do anything because the circumstances.
Okay, another one. Do you agree that the older we go in our brain, not physically, is it smarter? Then we not need more motivation to do something because we already start to understand everything. For example, I have a friend, he is the same year as me, but he's still like party and other stuff, spending his money, and after he tried to get everything back and work he not like, etc. And find motivation as he is ready. But if he will be a little bit smarter, he will not do this stuff. Then he will not need everything. How you say?
I think it's better not to think instead of other people. Just take care of yourself and leave, because this is a life.
This was a question. I don't say that maybe. I just
Yeah, it's just the way how person is living life, and maybe this is the way how he will find the best way for him or herself.
That's one of that some people choose not to be nature, even when they grow old.
Nature?
They choose not to be nature.
Yeah. Maybe he's still maybe looking for himself.
Growing up is that growing up is optional.
It's optional. There's a lot of jokes with this that I never asked this adulthood, you know. That's, I don't want it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Maybe you know, there is a research about writing code under different music, listening different music. Do you know about any research about writing code being motivated and being kind of not motivated? The quality, have you heard about anything like that?
Some are proven by science.
No, it's is this really possible to make this call like I'm doing it motivated, not motivated? I think I think then we come to the definition about what is motivation and what's not, because sometimes I think people sometimes think that motivation is some elevated feeling, like when you are all consumed by it and then you're like flying and doing something. I think those heights you can achieve very rarely in your life. So it's also when you like read some memories of poets or artists that's there, that basically when they created their masterpieces, of course that was the like spark of the god or something what happened, and I believe this happens to all developers time to time, for sure, because you are developing something that no one can describe and touch later. But all in all, it's motivation. It's about the ability to do this routine that you collect enough competence to get this spark at one moment. So how do you do that? Then if the result is there, who cares if you be motivated or not? But all over, evidence shows that yeah, people are more productive and more energetic and more happier. So why do the DevOps be different?
Well, actually, regarding music, I cannot comment about gender, but actually listening to music, it helps to concentrate, focus, and not get distracted on other things. It helps you to code, to be like, how it's said, like, get in the zone, yes.
That research shows some interesting trends, that actually listening to music means more bugs and whatnot. Yeah, Google it.
Actually, I was thinking the same. When I have music, I sing less slowly and distracts me.
I guess it depends on the person. To concentrate, I need something to distract myself from. To concentrate on something else.
From outside world.
It always
Yeah.
helps. Yeah.
It could be very individual. But music as such, I think it could be with those aesthetic needs, because there is a rhythm. So there might be that if you find your rhythm, then it helps you. But if you are listening to some music which is very far away from your rhythm, then it might be this.
Therefore, for developers, there are two opportunities. Either you're going code like a rock star, or you're using Sonic Pi and you have your own music, which you can code.
We have more questions.
Can the motivation be measured or monitored? Something.
Of course, you can always ask, come to the scale from 0 to 10, my motivation level is.
Yeah.
And you can do it but this way. And this could be, because if I find out that my motivation level is 2, then I probably know what I should be. Then I start to think what to do to boost it up. If I need, maybe I just go to sleep again. In companies, when we run those surveys and we try to detect what motivation level is, then the question which reveals your motivation level is how you rate the motivation level of your colleagues. Just like that, if you have kids in the kindergarten, so its advice is that you never ask them how was your day, because the kid cannot answer. You ask, how was the teddy bear feeling today in the kindergarten? So that's the same trick. But whatever you are answering about your colleagues, it will be referred to yourself. But there were some questions.
Oh yeah, mine is not as funny. It's more academic. So whenever people talk about motivation and classic theories, they always bring up Maslow. There's another theory which specifically focuses on motivation in the workplace, which is Hertzberg's motivation and hygiene theory, which I think is a lot more applicable and a lot less abstract and provides like very specific answers to, is this a motivating factor or is this not? Like salary proven to be not a motivating factor. It's a hygiene factor, you just expect it to be there. And then things like a goal or some idea of self, of sense of belonging to something greater than yourself with a purpose, which actually like is a motivating factor in the world. So this is like very classical, like for decades, known and proven. Why does nobody talk about it?
Because it's we are not talking it to when we are talking to people. When you talk to the organizations and to management system, then this is, I guess, most popular theory. When it comes to the motivational theories as such, so Hertzberg is one, which says about those hygiene and motivating factors. Then we have McGregor with his X and Y theory. One is believing that people are stupid, lazy, and should be controlled, otherwise they will not move an inch. And the other theory says that people like the job, they want to be creative, and they can be trusted. So which one you pick? So you pick one, and then you act. And it could be that you can pick, but then you can also have your workforce in one or another. Then we have also McClelland's theory about that we have just three basic needs. It's about achievements, power, and belonging. So that's also one way to look at it. Then we have equity theory as one of the motivational. So basically we are equalizing ourselves all the time with effort we put in the work and the output we are receiving out of it. And also we are measuring ourselves with others. So are we treated fairly? So, and then there's exchange theories about, should I be putting more input and then I'm getting out more or not? So basically there's a bunch of theories. All of them are used in your HR handbooks. Just sometimes we do not know how to call them. But basically that's whole list.
Yes, and I think we should talk about them more, right? Because it devolves less into the, well, how do you measure motivation? And stuff like this, which is like so individual and like always like chaotic and non-productive discussions, as I would call them.
It's there are some things what helps on individual level, and then there are some things which you can be helpful on collective level. So assuming that there are people from different organizations, so might be that solutions are different that are used in and applied in your organization.
All right. Thanks so
No
much.
questions.
First of all, just in the spooky story.
Yes.
Because it will help a lot of people.
So, the question you like the most, we can give AWS Rapture.
I think the last one. That was good.
Good. Perfect.
Can we go back to the master? And first of all, you can, I cannot share, but there's really
It's not German now.
Code with a rockstar. Check this homepage. It's BT, Mr. BT was doing it. Big question. Who's familiar with design thinking? What? Design thinking.
Oh.
Okay. Who's happy about design thinking? Okay.
Post it.
And as I said, horror story. That's a horror story because design thinking is, for me, a successful proof that the Maslow pyramid is working, but not for design thinking, because design thinking is not perfectly implemented, I would say. Why? You are usually attached to design thinking because, somehow you have some knowledge. You should create something fancy. you expect that you are getting recognized from the others. Hopefully being part of the team participating in the workshop, the stupid thing you have to think about the customers. So if you're not talking to them, how should they get in here? Which basically means most facilitators of design thinking will not be successful simply to the fact that they are stuck in the middle of the pyramid. Why? Because they cannot leverage you as a participant because you are kicked out of the workshop and the other things are going on. And the other thing is they don't take this respect and time for you in this situation of the workshop to really take care about you as a participant. Like, hey, are you really safe? Are you really in here? And in my opinion, we can overcome this if the facilitators will get more trained on this, how maybe also the interactions on those different levels are working and giving the perspective when this, let's say, positions are touched at some point. And for, let's say, the guys who are in the lead, or maybe even the managers who are never in the lead, who are only saying what to do. In my opinion, it's often enough fine if those workshops are happening, that you give at least an outlook when you will come back to the people to talk to them. Best case is that you do it 2 days afterwards to achieve those things, or latest 2 days. And within 2 weeks, you have to cover the whole pyramid. Otherwise, the whole workshop will crash as a result in performance, because you are not actually attaching the team to motivate it. And to answer your question, if it's measurable, I mean, the easiest thing is ask yourself, first of all, can you do it? So, can I do it? If not, first motivation is I want to do it. So if you are growing. Second is, am I allowed to do it? I can do a lot of stuff, but if I have to do it in my organization, I'm not allowed to it. It's clearly foreseen that you will fail. And the most important at the end is ask yourself, do you want to do it? And I mean, this doing is a commitment basically. And if you do it, then you can rush through and that's it. And that's a horror story about design thinking, because as long as we are trapped in those, creative activities only here, we are not really getting to our self-development. And we are also not really developing the community feeling, because the community feeling is coming from this stuff.
So actually you're saying that the Maslow pyramid is correct?
I mean, basically it's always this way.
Design thinking is correct.
It could be correct if it. I mean, it's always we as humans we tend to adopt to that what we see, so to see the patterns and try to match the stories. But in my opinion, it's a nice way to check. Okay, where are you, and where's the team, and where could you get as an individual and also with the community. But then really check everything, not only 1, 2, or 3 layers, because otherwise you're cutting off the other layers, and that usually means also you're cutting off from the others. Like either the one who is in the workshop or who is customers or whoever, and then it does not make any sense to do these workshops, because we are producing usually for other people something, and the self-esteem or actualization is at the end that you are, hey, you made it and other people like it, and they cheer you for this. So that's all.
Thank you.
All right, so this wraps up. No, one more thing actually. If you could stream from that computer, we do have a feedback form as well for the one.
So I'm switching off this.
Yeah.
Then I need your code again. Because I was putting this.
Okay, I can actually, I have an easy way to plug in with the
Yes, that's me.
Okay, so let's have a round of applause for our great presentation today. Thank you very much. And you can leave your feedbacks about how you liked the presentations and overall the event. How did you get to know about it? Just take a picture. Well, you don't even have to take a picture. You just scan it with your camera by default nowadays. And yeah, leave the feedback how you liked it, and maybe something we can improve in the future. Then the official part for the streaming of this event is over then. Thanks everyone who joined us online. And Then we will continue here on premises with like DevOps talks about different topics that are laying heavy on your heart. So we will pick some of them and discuss later here in the room next to us. So thanks everyone for coming. Thanks everyone for joining online. And let's give a round of applause to each other.